Friday, the 19th day of February 2021. Welcome to the Evening News Bulletin here on Adoa Television. My name is Nafa Lekwaku. And coming up in this bulletin, the NDC's National Communications Officer says, contrary to popular view, Dominic Ayene is not running away from any contempt charge leveled against him. Many other stories coming your way in the next few minutes. The news is proudly brought to you by Adoatv Roofing Sheet, the only quality and affordable roofing sheet and cookware you can get, as well as Migo drinking water, the only way to stay hydrated, and Blue City ties and accessories for any print of African fabric, any dress that you want, any occasion that you are going to. Do well to contact Blue City. And on to our first story. The NDC's National Communications Officer, Sami Jemfi, says, contrary to public view, Dominic Ayene is not running away from any contempt case leveled against him. According to him, Mr. Ayene only failed to show up in court for a petition hearing on Thursday because he was bereaved. Mr. Jemfi said the party has seen a publication claiming Mr. Ayene has been cited for contempt, but there was no reference to the processes. His comment comes after reports went viral that the Supreme Court has cited Mr. Ayene, who is a spokesperson for petitioner John Mahama, for contempt after he claimed there was a predetermined agenda among the judges to rule against the petitioner.
First of all, Dr. Ayene is not in court and is not with us here because he lost a friend and he had to go for the funeral. That is why lawyer Tony Leta is also not in court. So he's not in court, not because of any alleged contempt proceeding that has been brought against him. Number two, officially, we are also not aware of any contempt proceedings that has been brought against him. We've seen a publication by Asase Radio, which makes reference to no process. And we don't know how they got that information. So we will wait and get confirmation of that before we can make our position on that known. But be rest assured that Dr. Ayene is a senior member of the bar. He will not deliberately disparage the court or seek to scandalize the court in any way. And he is capable of explaining these issues in a way that the justices of the Supreme Court and Ghanaians at large will appreciate when that time comes. But, or if that time comes, let me put it that way. But the party has issued a statement on this issue, not necessarily the committal for contempt proceedings and all that, but statements that have been made by spokespersons of the second respondent, candidate Ekufuado. And here we are referring to people like Kwadwo Ponkroma, Nana B, who at this very platform and on different platforms have sought to deliberately instigate and incite the court against Dr. Ayene. We want to condemn in no uncertain term that shameful conduct of our colleagues, because as lawyers, that attitude is completely shameful and unacceptable. They know that Dr. Ayene did not say what they have said he said, and they know that the interpretations they are putting on what he has said are slanted and false. And they know that even if any of us here are in breach of any law or stand the possibility of being held liable for contempt, it is absolutely wrong for colleague lawyers to be the ones fanning the flames. We are all in this country during the 2013 election petition. We saw people from the NDC and NPP be cited for contempt. And you saw the unity at the bar between all the parties in defense of these people. When my own brother, Samia Uku, was cited for contempt, you saw how lawyers for John Mahama at the time and the NDC defended him. And I believe the other side also did the same thing for my own brother and colleague, Kweku Buai. Why are lawyers like Kwadwo Ponkroma, Nana B, who, by the way, are juniors by far to Dr. Ayene, trying to instigate the court and incite the court against him on the basis of things he has not said. And when they have made worse statements than that are even more contemptuous. Because, my brother, the court, I believe, has been very liberal in how it has conducted these proceedings. And even where senior lawyers who are on record have heard, the court has been very liberal in giving them, cautioning them here and there and all that. You saw them do that to Frank Davies and other senior lawyers. Because if the broad rules of contempt are to be applied strictly, then the first culprit will be Kojo Oponkroma. Because nobody has prejudiced this matter, which is sub judice, than him. How many times hasn't he stood here to dismiss the case of the petitioner? How many times haven't you heard Anabi say that petition, the petition is baseless? The petitioner has not discharged his evidential burden or the burden of proof. Are they justices of the Supreme Court? Are they clothed with power to pronounce definite conclusions on matters that are sub judice? That is also contempt. Yet nobody has called on the court to cite them for contempt. So they should stop this shameful conduct. And finally, let me also raise this point, which is tied to what we are talking about. The disrespect from spokespersons of the second respondent for lawyer for the petitioner, in the course of these proceedings, for us is very unacceptable. You hear them stand here and describe things that counsel for the petitioner has said as English and grammar. Lawyer Chachuchi Katai was just speaking English and not law. You don't do that. We are not trained to say things like that about our seniors at the bar. All these people are juniors by far to the people they are trying to ridicule. When we come and stand here, we don't ridicule the likes of Senior Kutuampao and Justin and Maneuver. We all see how they struggle on their feet, yet we don't come here to mock or ridicule anybody. You understand? So, why do you come and stand here and talk down on somebody that you may never be able to even come close to what they have attained or achieved in life? I'm not sure that even President Akufo-Addo would disrespect Lawyer Chachuchi Kata. So let us uphold the ethics that we have been taught as lawyers and give respect to whom respect is due, and stop instigating the courts against seniors, stop ridiculing seniors. We are not supposed to do that. We should know better.
From that, the National Democratic Congress Communications Officer has revealed their quest to Mrs. Jane Mensah is not to ask the Supreme Court judges to subject the Electoral Commissioner to a different standard, but to subject her to every other rule that applies to every other citizen in the country. Speaking during a press briefing outside the courtroom yesterday, he stated that these rules they refer to are accountability rules, since she, Mrs. Jane Mensah, as a public figure, is accountable to the public in relation to declarations made by her after the 2020 election polls.
Counsel for the petitioner also addressed this issue about, the petitioner keeps on saying that Madam Jane Mensah has a duty, a constitutional duty to the people of this country to testify and to provide answers to certain pertinent questions that are germane to the issues before the court. And why are we saying so? Because the fact that she is EC chairperson doesn't mean that different set of rules should be applied to her. A counsel for the petitioner today argued that we are not asking the court to subject Madam Jane Mensah to a different standard. We are asking the court to subject her to the very rules that every other person is subjected to. And that rule is simple. You, Jane Mensah, you were the returning officer for the 2020 presidential election. You conducted the election and declared the results of same. In your declaration, you stated that the total valid votes for the election was 13,434,574. And then you stated that candidate Akufo-Addo got 6,730,413, constituting 51.5%. We took our calculators and did the same calculation, and we saw that if you divide 6,730,413 by 13,434,574, you don't get 51.595 as we gave him. You rather get 50.089. And so why did you increase the votes of the second respondent, candidate Akufo-Addo, unjustifiably, when your own figures don't support that? And in your own declaration, after you made this flawed, you gave him this undeserved petition, you proceeded to say that even though you did not have the results for Techiman South constituency, you were not going to wait for that, because even if all the votes in Techiman South were added to that of the second candidate, candidate Mahama, candidate Akufo-Addo will still cross the more than 50% threshold. And we took our calculators again and did the calculation. The total votes in Techiman South are 128,018 votes. If you add that to the total valid votes she declared, 13,434,574, you get 13,562,592. And if you divide candidate Akufo-Addo's votes, 6730413 by that figure, and you multiply it by 100, you get 49.625. That is the figure candidate Akufo-Addo got per G. Mensah's own declaration, per her own figures. And so if, subsequent to that declaration, you claim to have made a mistake, in fact, so flawed was that declaration that if you added all the percentages given to the 12 candidates, you get 100.3%, a clear mathematical impossibility. Then this woman comes to tell the nation that I've made a mistake. And in rectifying that mistake, an unsigned press release is issued. An unsigned press release, therefore, in our opinion, cannot be a declaration or a rectification of the alleged error. And even in that unsigned press release, different figures were issued or put out, 14, 433, 533, different figures. And contrary to what she herself has stated in that unsigned press release, that she was only introducing a new figure for total valid votes, she actually massaged or adjusted the votes of the candidate, reduced that of Mahama by 1,707, and that of candidate Akufo-Addo was increased by 174. Subsequent to that, she came to court. All Ghanaians thought that she was going to rely on her so-called correction, only to abandon the so-called correction she had told the nation through that unsigned press release. And then came to court with another figure, 13,121,111. And then abandoned the votes she gave candidate Mahama and candidate Akufo-Addo on the 10th, and went back to the votes she declared on the 9th. And then you go on their website, you see different set of figures. You check the 16 regional coalition fees, you see different set of figures. And so we are saying that her own conduct, which is the subject of this petition, makes it imperative for her to testify and provide answers to all these issues, so that the court and Ghanaians at large will know the truth in this matter, and so that justice will be done. And so we are not saying that different set of rules should be applied to her. We are saying that as a public officer, she should be held to account, particularly when she herself had already intimated to the court that she will be available for cross-examination to provide answers to some of these questions. And then
in court, and one of the spokespersons for the second respondent, Mrs. Adoa Asante, has made claims that they are lost to two reasons why they are still in court: because the counsel of the petitioner, according to her, has failed to prove to the court legal and evidential grounds of the issues that dragged them to court. Also speaking at the press briefing outside the courtroom, she further revealed that the delay in submission of closing addresses by the petitioner has even worsened their dilemma of knowing the reasons why they are in court. She had more to say on this.
With this argument of estoppel that keeps on being bandied about, the court firmly dismissed this argument and stated that it does not apply in these circumstances. The court further held that the strength of your case does not depend on the weakness of your opponent's case. And as such, the petitioner keeps on coming to us stating that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo did not obtain more than 50% of total valid votes cast. Where are your figures? Show us your figures. We are not getting anything from the petitioner nor his witnesses. And as such, we are still lost as to why we are in court. We also feel that the petitioner who brought us to court should actually be in a hurry to file his closing addresses. But there has been a consistent delay in this process, and we do not understand why. We have filed ours. And even when the petitioner's lawyer stood up, was on his feet today, he mentioned the fact that the Order 36 lays down the procedure for order of speeches. So in actual fact, they were to file their closing addresses, then we file our closing addresses. But the court has the power, per Order 36, Rule 1, to decide and order how this order of speeches should take place. And as such, the court, rightly so, ordered that both parties file their written addresses simultaneously. And that is firmly grounded in law. I do not hold brief for the Supreme Court, but it is instructive to note that the sanctity of the court is something that must be upheld and religiously guarded by us as lawyers, by litigants, and indeed the entire citizenry of Ghana. And especially when you are before the apex court of the land. This is our final resort when an aggrieved party brings a matter to court. And as such, this sanctity must be jealously guarded.
Ahead of the closure of the last session of the 23rd Synod scheduled for 6th March 2021, the House of Clergy and Laity are to start the session with a meeting at the St. Paul's Anglican Church in La today, 19th February 2021. The House of Clergy met to discuss the Bishop's charge to the House, Synod's reports and other pertinent matters that affects the clergy. Reginald Percival Robertson has filed the following report.
Synod, which in a layman's term will tend to be the highest decision-making body of the Anglican Communion, has its representation in the Anglican Diocese of Accra. It normally predominantly constitutes of two houses, that's the House of Clergy and the House of Laity, to make up its membership. Ahead of the closure of the last section, that is the 23rd Synod section, the House of Clergy would have their preliminary meetings to discuss matters of previous reports from the last section of Synod, as well as pertinent matters affecting the House, and also have issues that it has to do with the Bishop's charge to the House for the discussion. So this is where we are now at St. Paul's Anglican Church to have this particular plenary section by the House of Clergy. We'll be speaking to some of them to know the essence of this particular meeting and what it brings to them as clergy. The name is Reginald Robertson.
The news team spoke to Very Reverend Dr. George Kotenikwe, Dean, Cathedral Church of the Most Holy Trinity, whom by conversion is the leader of the House of Clergy, on the purpose of the meeting.
The constitution of the diocese stipulates that we have a House of Clergy and a House of Bishops. And so the bishop technically is a member of the House of Bishops and is still the overlord, if you like, of the House of Clergy. But when it comes to the meeting of the House of Clergy, only the clergy meets. By clergy, we mean all priests of the diocese, including the ladies. We all meet, and when we meet, the dean chairs the meeting. He is normally, when we meet, he's supported by the archdeacons. They sit around him, and if there is anything to think about, they do that very quickly, and then they are able to respond to the people. So it comprises basically the priests of the diocese. We have decided to look at all the reports for Synod. And we have divided ourselves into archdeaconries and the deanery. So, for instance, the cathedral deanery is looking at the bishop's charge, and under the bishop's charge, looking at the deepening spirituality. and then the Heritage Fund report. Then the Accra West Agikri is also looking at the financial sustainability. And then the Board of Finance reports, then the Adoa sanitation projects, and the education Anglican schools of Anglican schools. So the Accra West is actually looking at these reports. And then the Accra North is looking at the growth based on discipline and integrity. And then the Tema Agikri is looking at the standing committee reports, and then the hospital ministry and the national issues. Then the Accra East Agikri is looking at social impacts. Then Adoa for the Aged Foundation, child trafficking, child trafficking and prisons ministry. So they are looking at all those reports and try to come out with a summary and a recommendation of the, from the reports. And then also the Accra Northeast Agikri is looking at the medical outreach, the Anglican Communion, and also the internal province of Ghana, all those reports, for all of us to come together again, and then we'll give all our reports. And then if there are comments to give on the reports, then we try to do those comments, and in the end, the House of Clergy's secretaries, we have added 2 more to the secretaries to sit down and look at the general reports of all the Agikris and the deanery, and then come out with
Third Synod of the Anglican Diocese of Accra. The team had a conversation with some archdeaconess on the matters concerning health and outreach from the bishop's charge, elucidation on the synod itself.
The bishop's charge are in 2 folds or 3 folds, having to do the meditation, then review of the past session, and then projection. All right. And the projection aspect, where he has mentioned highly of the role of the medical team, the Dausan medical team. You know, with this COVID thing, the Dausan medical team had played a very significant role, coming out with directives as to how we have to handle ourselves, and then ensure that all the protocols are observed. Yes. So the medical team has done well. Their leader being the Dr. Ni Aye of St. Stephen's Ankanche Tema and of the Port Hospital Tema. They've done very well. I mean, other places, people will do that for fee. But thank God, they've seen that as their service to God, and they've done well. You know, and so in our discussion, we were saying that with this COVID thing, every congregation, every parish has a medical team. So we are proposing, having congratulated the Dausan medical team, they should have a feel of the medical team in their parishes. So we should think about how we can develop this COVID-19 medical team to eventually be part of the Dausan medical team, so that we pray God, when this COVID is over, our personal hygiene and other issues about health can be still furthered. Because wherever we go for evangelism, the medical team is there. Wherever we go, the medical team is there. So that the stress is not placed on the diocesan body. We could, out of that, we could have adequate medical teams. Out of that, we could have districts within the adequate their medical team, as well as the parish medical team. So therefore, you are taking care of the body as well as the soul.
Finally, one of the charge is outreach. As a church, in these times of COVID, we would expect that this is a time maybe we would find that connection between the church and its congregation or its congregant. What are some steps are you putting in place in these times?
One, this medical team, the role of the medical team, and Well, with the help of Adoa, now church services can be participated in the comfort of your home. You know, this idea of services on Adoa has not benefited only Anglicans or Anglicans of Accra Diocese, everywhere in Ghana and outside Ghana, because it's now on satellite. Everybody's watching and they come out with their feet. So you could see that, yes, evangelism has taken a different turn, and we have to exploit it, for the lack of the proper word. We have to gain all the benefit out of it to ensure that the word of God gets to people who should be part of the fold.
The importance of synod to the growth and development of the church was expounded by Venerable John Antonio Telu Nelson, Archdeacon of Accra West.
What is the importance of such meetings, the synod, the sections, to the church in general?
Yeah, synod is the apex body of a diocese. So synod meets, deliberate on issues, and then out of that, the synod comes out with an acta and synod decisions. The acta is binding. So a lot has to go in, a lot of brainstorming, so that we come out with concrete decisions. And then after the decisions, we come out with the acta to govern the diocese and then the churches within the diocese. So the bishop gives his charge for the synod. And in the charge, the bishop gives us his dreams, his aspirations, his vision for the diocese. And then we have the standing committee who acts in place of synod. They also bring their report.
Okay.
And then we have the board of finance. They look at the entire financial activities of the diocese. So they also come out with their report. And then we look at the report. The House of Laity, House of Clergy will meet and then look at the report. And then they will come out with their findings. Or they will look at the various reports. And then they will come out with their findings or report from the House of Clergy and then reports from the House of Laity. And then we put the two reports together. If there are some divergent views, we streamline and then we take a decision on that. And then out of that, it is given to the secretariat. We have the legal team. We have the chancellor, the registrar, and the assistant secretary. They will sit down, the legal team, and then they will come out with the draft acta and the decisions. They will read it out to us. If there is any correction that we have to do or any addition, we do that. And then out of that, we'll come out with the final acta, with the bishop signs.
Okay.
We give thanks to God by chanting the Te Deum that everything has come to an end. The acta is binding.
Synod is the highest decision-making body within the diocese, where issues confronting the church are addressed. The Lord Bishop of the Anglican Diocese of Accra, Right Reverend Dr. Daniel Sylvanus Mensah Torto, will on Saturday, 7 March 2021, open the last section of the 23rd Synod at St. Joseph.
Child labor in Ghana and Africa as a whole has been a social interest for generations. Adoatv's Emmanuel Wilson on his The Harsh Reality Chronicles has uncovered another interesting aspect of child labor. Children who have willingly decided to engage in the act because of some peculiar reasons. There is more in the following report.
The whole world is on the same manufacturers, and so we know that we will not get the vaccines en bloc for the entire population, and therefore it's going to come in trickles. And so we had to do a kind of segmentation in order to have effectiveness in delivery. So ultimately, the vision is to vaccinate the entire population. But for now, the initial target, based on the safety profile of the vaccines, we are targeting approximately 20 million persons. And these persons are health workers, as based on, this is based on the segmentation, persons with underlying health conditions, security personnel, other essential service providers, persons above 60 years, students of...
About that. And child labor in Ghana and Africa as a whole has been of social interest for generations. Adoatv's Emmanuel Wilson on this The Harsh Reality Chronicles has uncovered another interesting aspect of child labor. Children who have willingly decided to engage in the act because of some peculiar reasons. There is more in this report.
It is 9:43 a.m. Adoatv's news team arrived at Jamestown Beach to find out whether light fishing in a way has affected the aquatic life at this beach. However, upon arrival, something strange caught my attention. Children, minors who were supposed to be in school, were here, fishing, mending fishing nets, and also selling fishes at this crucial hour. As shocked as I was, I nonetheless decided to take a detour from my mission and set the focus elsewhere. The sight of a camera brought some sort of glee to them as they were willing to have a conversation with me on camera.
Where were you, JSS? Yeah, school man, we were class 2.
I don't know how to school class 2.
Say na go for ya na
Maybe na go for the time I work class 2 no on president. Nti ade na uja school.
Obuso afon hwem ye. Omo ya kwa nya kaka nkra.
Wo adwin bi se da che obesia ko school bi.
David.
Fish na pese we. Na fish na we no boat, wa wo boat.
David me no be me na eko. Se banya se tonama ni ama ya kaka.
Ahina sa wutimi ko ba eda sika wo hopa na ahina obetimi enya.
Ti se da na mo wo pa no, enya sika gese.
Ti se ahin.
So nya da okono nya adaka 100, abetwa nya se 1 million and 1.5.
Okay, no yes se da emu ye pa no.
So na ma obenya.
Okay, se enu enya nam ni bebri so ahina obetimi enya.
Betwa nya 300, betwa nya 400.
Which is 30 cedis or 40 cedis.
Every day. Ana 20 cedis.
Now what the name be akufi ana nam de mu.
E mo nam no aton. So pa de be ko fe pa obeton.
I take my father go to the fisher.
You go with your father to the sea?
Yes.
Okay, why are you not in school? Speak Ghana. Why are you not in school? As interesting as this might be, this is an entire generation of children involved in fishing. I understand some of them, their fathers own shipping boats, and for that matter, they find it imperative that they help their parents so that one day when they grow and inherit these shipping boats, they can also use it. Others who are saying that because of COVID, they are finding it difficult to raise money to go to school. Some adults are equally telling me that COVID is the reason why the children are here, because just as school began, they had to provide their children with PPEs on a daily and also provide them with feeding fees, which they were not ready for. And for that matter, they have to let the children come fishing and raise some sorts of money to support them in doing that.
Ewa hanum but sesi ano senia abrabo na akoye no obi wo ho a ne maami ni sika na odin because esa COVID-19 hihye bebre na ye de achu akwan mu nti esa no nti e bia parents bi wo ho a oni sika na ne ba ni be ko de face mask sanitizer afinsu any feeding fee na ade na ko esa nyo obi a na e ma ne ba ne ko aban ni school no. Inti obi wo ha bebre majority ko private school eno nti na nkwala no mo nna ma nti obi san say onko school a si o ni mami ke ebeshika na je se ni mami ni ska nti anka ebe ya sa omo hwe government side no nti anka ebe ya preparate ni nsu aban ni su hwe honum kakra ma ye se na ebe ya ye ma no e school no e wo preparate no.
Another risk factor was that all the sundry were without face or nose mask. I decided to overlook this as they were agitated when I decided to inquire from them why it was so. I engaged some adults and they tell me they were concerned too, but the hardship these days have contributed to this phenomenon. The question here is, with all the government social interventions to aid education, what other thing can remedy this situation? How can the society play a role? That was it. An interaction with amateur fisher folks here at the Jamestown beach. My name is Emmanuel Wilson.
Some health-related stories, and manager of the extended program on immunization at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Kwame Amponsang Achiano, has outlined COVID-19 vaccination plans and guidelines initiated at lessening COVID-19 in Ghana. Speaking at the public engagement on COVID-19 vaccination rollout plan event held today at the Alisa Hotel in Accra, he further disclosed that the vaccine has been targeted at 20 million people in Ghana if received. There's more in this report.
The whole world is on the same manufacturers, and so we know that we will not get the vaccines en bloc for the entire population, and therefore it's going to come in trickles. And so we had to do a kind of segmentation in order to have effectiveness in delivery. So ultimately, the vision is to vaccinate the entire population. But for now, the initial target, based on the safety profile of the vaccines, we are targeting approximately 20 million persons. And these persons are health workers, as based on, this is based on the segmentation, persons with underlying health conditions, security personnel, other essential service providers, persons above 60 years, students of second and tertiary institutions, teachers at all levels, specialized groups, because the executive, legislature, judiciary, the MDAs, the media, and of course the rest of the population will receive the COVID-19 vaccines. We're going to use a mixed bag of delivery strategies. We use static, that is where we use fixed clinics. There are already existing hospitals, health centers, clinics, both public and private. We would also conduct outreach services depending on the area, because there will be mobile clinics, temporary mobile clinics, where people go vaccinate and move to the next spot. There will also be camp out. Camp out is usually suited for those our colleagues or our citizens on the islands and the riverine areas, where health workers pack bag and baggage and go and sleep on the islands for about a week or so, complete the vaccination exercise, and come out. And of course, we use a combination of these depending on the situation. So the vaccines or vaccination will be expanded to include children and pregnant women as time goes on and as more safety data become available. Yeah, so this slide is giving us the highlights of the target groups and the potential delivery strategies. So for the target groups that we mentioned earlier, depending on the target group, we have designed a potential delivery strategy. So for example, for health workers, there will be fixed sites. For persons 60 years and above, we use a combination. For those with underlying conditions, we also use a combination of fixed sites and outreaches. And the potential vaccination sites are what you see on the right side. So we use a mixed bag of health centers, hospitals, public, private, outreach points, the community pharmacies, the markets, drive-thrus, and even workplaces, depending on the target. And for those who have special conditions or for specialized populations, we use specialized strategies. Next slide, please. Yes, so in the vaccine delivery strategy, we made an assumption, and we think that the assumption is working. Global vaccine supply will span a long period, and as we see, most countries are getting the vaccines in trickles. And therefore, vaccine deployment for us will be staggered in 3 phases. And this is based on the groups that you see on this slide. Yes, so we're looking at group 1 by way of segmentation. persons at most risk. And these are principally frontline health workers, frontline security personnel, persons with known underlying medical conditions, people 60 years and above, frontline members of the executive, legislature, and the judiciary, because the country must run. If you need money, Parliament must approve, and so on. So for those that are in frontline, they are segmented to receive the vaccine. Group 2 will look at other essential service providers, including the rest of the security agencies. So again, you see a tall list for those who give us water, electricity, our teachers, our students, those who are the fuel pumps, farmers, and those within the food chain, telecommunication services, air traffic control, civil aviation, meteo, air transport services, and waste management, the media, the rest of the public, and of course, commercial transport service providers. And then finally, the group 3 will be the rest of the general population, all persons 18 years and over, excluding pregnant women. Let me say that this is not cast in iron, so depending on the situation, we have made it quite fluid, and again, we have segmented based on the hotspots, as you see in the on the next slide. But before that, as I said, because the entire population is targeted ultimately, when we have enough information, then there will be a group 4, which is the pregnant women and their children. So as this slide depicts, you see that there are some areas that are deeply red and some almost black. If your geography is quite good, you see that Greater Accra is almost black. And these are the hotspots. So further segmentation based on the few vaccines that we are likely to receive in the next couple of weeks, maybe next week or so. We are looking at Greater Accra Metro, the Greater Kumasi Metro, and of course, Western will be the next. As you see on the left side of the map, Western is also quite heavily affected. Next slide, please. Yes, so human resources would be enormous. We need a lot of vaccinators for this exercise, so we have planned to train approximately 12,500 vaccinators and nearly 40,000 volunteers with a little over 2,000 team supervisors. And these will be used for both the round 1 and round 2 of the campaign. Remember, I said that the vaccines are given in 2 doses. Of course, there will be micro-planning where the activity itself will be done at the implementation level. So that's where they will look at the fuel, the communication, the transport.
We'll bring you some sports updates. Stay with us.
Super na wanya pomuden se wo benum nso a hwe hu ni se eye mega purified mineral water eye nso a yetu ni baby pa asaso ni so se kroje se wonya mega purified mineral water bogu ubu a wo see you manum super mega mineral water de edanso esan say the modern technology so na ye ede na nkabia ni atri mega purified mineral water bacteria na mhen wa bewrem eye very hygienic obia di one dance mega mineral water neatly packaged for 500 ml bottles mu na wani bosua na ukon donsio wobenya mega purified mineral water to bebia to phone call dodowa amount for tipa junction and afre 05070554009 and 055392108 mega purified mineral water akona kono.
Manager of the Ghana Football Association, Alex Kote, is embarking on regional visits to assess and discuss modalities for the implementation of the Catch Them Young refereeing program. The regional visit started at the central and western regions of the country. His first stop was in Takoradi, where about 100 young boys and girls have been registered in the central region, awaiting clearance from the GFA to begin practice training.
The referees manager of the Ghana Football Association, Mr. Alex Kote, has started regional visitations to hunt for young boys and girls who are interested in officiating. His visitations began with the western and central regions of the country. His first stop was in Takoradi, where he held lengthy discussions with instructors, executives and managers of football in the region to deliberate on recruitment of young boys and girls, methods to teach and conduct exams, practical training, logistics and funding, and plans towards the commencement of juvenile football. The Catch Them Young refereeing policy is an important program that, if well managed, will impact positively on the future of refereeing in Ghana and the football industry. He then proceeded to the central region where he visited Cape Coast Municipal, Abura Dunkwa, Twifo Praso, Twifo Hemai, Asin Jichia and Ekrofrom and Aguna Swedro. Other places included Dunkwa Onofe, Elmina and Ejumako. Mr. Alex Kote is expected to continue his visits to the Upper East and Northern regions this weekend. In line with this program, the GFA has taken delivery of some refereeing equipment for competitions. The equipment includes 50 whistles, 100 writable red and yellow cards, 100 cans with 15 holders of vanishing spray, which will also be used for the Premier League, Women's Premier League and Division 1 League matches.
For sports, we'll be right back with some entertainment news. Stay with us.
Ago, good people of Ghana. Here are some safety measures on prevention of coronavirus. 1. Cover your mouth with tissue when you cough or sneeze. Dispose of tissue into a bin immediately you cough into it and wash your hands with soap under running water. Avoid shaking hands and use sanitizers as often as you can. Signs and symptoms of coronavirus include fever, cough, sneezing, and difficulty in breathing. Should you experience any of these, or for more inquiries, please contact 0558 439 868. That's 0558 439 868. Or call 0509 497 700. That's 0509 497 700.
Remember to always wash your hands with soap and running water.
This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health, the Ghana Health Service, and partners.
Come back, let's do some entertainment. And the National Commission on Culture has launched a project on earthing and developing young talents who are into instruments and dancing as amateurs or professionals. The maiden edition of the project, Dance Africa Dance Diaspora Competition, is in partnership with Africa Diaspora Association of United States of America, Canada, and Majestic Entertainment Group Africa America Foundation. The Commission's role in competition is to spearhead a successful completion. Performances include solo dancers, duo or trio dancers, dancers in small groups of 4 to 11 and larger groups of 11 and above. For our evening news bulletin here on Adoatv with me, Nafa Alikwaku. And of course, thanks for staying with us. Our news was proudly brought to you by Asatec Roofing Sheet, Migo Drinking Water, and Blue City Ties and Accessories. Don't forget to enjoy the rest of our programs and stay safe.